it's Kira and welcome to the Yoga Corner. Today I'm going to be guiding you through a heart-opening flow where we're moving through some back bends, which are absolutely perfect for anyone who spends a lot of time sitting at a desk. You might be sitting a lot of time in a hunched position, which really closes up the front of your body. So we'll be trying to counter that today by opening up the front of the body through some really energizing back bends. So without further ado, let's jump straight into it. We'll get started today lying down on our backs. We're going to be moving straight into a gentle bridge back bend. So as you come to lie down on your back, just make sure that you have a bend in the knees and start thinking about walking the feet back towards the base of the spine. Walk them as close as you can to the base of your spine, and then your hands can just come down to the mat, palms down, grazing the backs of the heels. Make sure that the feet are hip width apart, so they're not too close together, not too far apart, and just soften the shoulders so that they can come flat on the ground. Before we move into the posture, we'll just take a couple of moments to focus on the breath. You might like to close the eyes here and just notice the flow of air as it moves in and out of your body. Noticing which parts of your body expand and grow with every inhale, and which parts of your body are able to soften and relax with every exhale. Take a couple of breaths just like that, gradually deepening your connection with your inhale and exhale each time you breathe in and out. And then whenever you're ready, we'll start to move through our bridge poses. We want to keep the feet really firm on the ground here. And with your next inhale, you're going to push through those feet and lift the glutes away from the ground, starting to reach the hips up to the sky. Keep your gaze nice and directly up to the ceiling because we can really damage the neck if we look around in this posture. As you exhale, just soften the hips back down. We're moving through this a few times, gradually deepening our connection with the pose each time we move into it. With your next inhale, we lift those hips up, squeeze the glutes, and notice how when you really activate those glutes, you find a little bit more height for the hips each time. Exhale, soften those hips back down, really nice. One more time. We inhale to squeeze the glutes, lift those hips. Think about pulling your inner thighs together. They don't need to touch, but you want to pull them in together so you're really active through the legs. Exhale, soften those hips back down, really nice. Take that one more time. Option to keep the hands flat on the ground as we have done before. We'll inhale and get to that position together. Hands stay flat on the ground. If you want to take it slightly deeper, you can interlace your hands underneath the glutes and then gradually just wiggle the shoulder blades so that they move together underneath the spine. That will allow the chest to start to lift as well as the hips. If you've taken that option, really think about lifting those hips up, squeezing the glutes, pull those inner thighs together. Whichever version of this pose you've taken, we're staying there for 3, 2, 1. If you have those hands interlaced, gently unwind them and we'll all soften the hips back down to the ground. This time, once we get back down to the ground, we're going to bring the feet as wide as the mat and we're just going to windscreen wiper the legs. This just gives a little bit of release for the lower back. Taking them over from one side to the other. And then gently slowing down, coming back to center, we'll hug the knees into the chest, give them a squeeze. Bring the hands behind the thighs and start to rock and roll along the spine. Build up some momentum. And whenever you're ready, we're going to rock straight over to find our hands and knees. Take your time to get there. There's no rush whatsoever. But once you do find that hands and knees position, make sure that the hands are directly underneath the shoulders, knees are underneath the hips. Really good. Plant those hands firm on the ground, spread the fingertips. And we'll just take a couple of moments for our cat and cows, which are great for warming up the spine. With our next inhale, we're dropping the belly, lifting the chest, finding space for that chest. Really allow it to open up. Exhale, round the spine, chin to chest, finding that doming back. Inhale, dropping the belly, opening that chest up. Exhale, rounding the spine, chin to chest. One more time. Inhale, dropping the belly, chest opens up, really create space. Exhale, rounding the spine, chin to chest. Really good. Gently slow it down, coming back to center. We're going to spread the fingertips as wide as we can, tuck the toes, and then lift the hips up to the sky. downward facing dog. In your first downward dog, you might like to take some small movements, maybe wiggling out the feet, pedaling out the legs, really anything that feels good to you and helps you to ease into this posture. And once you've taken a few movements, just start to slow it down, coming back to stillness. Take a full deep breath in, thinking about making the spine as long as you can by looking back to those legs and guiding the chest in towards those thighs. Really good. With our next inhale, we're looking forward to the hands and gently just tiptoeing the feet up to meet the hands at the front of the mat in our first forward fold. In this first fold, you might like to gently take hold of the opposite elbows and just rock it out from left to right, finding your ragdoll position and really just releasing out through the back of the body. Gently slow down any movements you were taking there. Bring the fingertips back down to the ground. With an inhale, we're lifting halfway. Hands find the shins. We've got a nice flat back here. Gaze comes forward. Exhale, soften the chest down, folding down. Inhale, we're going to sweep the hands up to the sky, lifting nice and tall. Exhale, hands come down to the heart space. Really nice. Once you find that heart space, just take a moment to close the eyes. Think about lengthening up through the spine, creating as much room as you can as you reach all the way up through the crown of the head. With your next inhale, you're going to sweep the hands up to the sky. Exhale, open the arms up, find a cactus shape. Inhale, open the arms up to the sky, really good. Exhale, open the arms up, cactus shape. Think about really actively squeezing the shoulder blades together so that you open up the chest. Inhale, sweep those arms up. Exhale, cactus shape, really good. One more time. Inhale, we sweep the hands to the sky. Exhale, we find that cactus shape. And then we gently bring the hands back together at the heart space. Really nice. Inhale, sweep those hands back up one more time. Exhale, bring the hands to interlace behind the back of the body. If you took this in your bridge pose, then you'll know exactly what we're doing. If not, just bring those hands together. Think about squeezing the hands and then bringing the shoulder blades as close together as you can so that chest shines forward. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, hinge from the hips. Allow the arms to reach up and overhead as the chest comes down, finding a version of your forward fold. We'll stay here for one deep breath. Exhale, gently release the hands out of that interlace, bring the fingertips down to the ground. Inhale lifts you up halfway. Exhale, we soften the chest down. Plant the hands on the ground. We're stepping the feet back, finding our first plank pose. Really good. Plant the hands firm on the ground. Think about allowing the head to reach forward as the heels reach back. Take a deep breath in. As you exhale, gently lower the knees to the ground, release those toes. Elbows are going to stay tucked in towards the body as the chest follows and you lower all the way down to the ground. Really good. I want you to keep your hands in line with the rib cage, but bring them out as wide as the mat. Come onto your fingertips and we're going to take some rolling cobras. Gradually just building up the momentum and movement and mobility through the back of the body. With your next inhale, push through the fingertips and gently just lift the chest a few inches away from the ground, looking towards the center of the front of your mat. Exhale, soften the chest back down. Inhale, push through those fingertips, lift the chest. Maybe you find a little bit more height. Exhale, soften down. Really good. One more time. Think about really squeezing the glutes as you lift the chest, and just like in your bridge pose, you'll find that helps you to find a little bit more height. Lifting the chest, squeezing the glutes, finding length, deep breath in. Exhale, soften that chest down. Really good. Going to bring the forehead all the way down to the ground and allow the arms to come beside the body. Palms face down as you look towards the front of the mat. Going to be taking our locust pose here. So we're going to do a few variations of this posture. Option to stay with each one as you go with it or move on to the next level depending on how your body feels. So with your next deep breath in, your palms are going to stay behind you. You're going to push into the palms and gently start to lift the chest away from the ground. You might not find that much height. That's completely fine. Just think about lifting the chest and creating space as much as you can. Exhale, soften the chest down. Really good. So that was our first option. Our next option is going to be to hover the hands away from the ground as we lift the chest up. So we take our inhale, either keeping the palms on the ground or hovering them, and you might find that you get a little bit more lift this time. Take a deep breath in. Exhale to soften. Next option, if you lifted the hands before, you might be able to lift them a little bit higher, and this time turn the palms in so they're facing each other, and think about squeezing the shoulder blades together just like we did when we were standing up. Taking a deep breath in, we either keep the palms on the ground, hover them, or bring them a little bit higher and squeeze them together. They're not going to touch, but we're just pushing them in that direction. Deep breath in. Exhale, we soften. Final option, if that arm position felt comfortable to you, our final version of our locust pose involves lifting the legs away from the ground. So you'll want to fire up those leg muscles as much as you can, squeezing the glutes, squeezing your quads, and lift the legs up as the arms lift as well. So take whichever version works for you. We're going to hold it for 3 breaths. It can be quite intense, so just use that breath to help you through the posture. Take a deep breath in. Exhale completely. With our next inhale, we lift into our locust pose, finding your version of this posture. If you've lifted those legs, try to activate them and lift the chest as much as you can. Taking a deep breath in. Exhaling completely. One more deep breath. This time the exhale brings us back down to the ground, really good. Bring those hands back in to frame the ribcage, tuck your toes and lift the hips up to the sky. Deep breath in, find your downward dog. Really nice. Take a full deep breath here and a full exhale. One more time, deep breath in, full exhale. With your next inhale, we look forward to those hands. We can either tiptoe, step, or jump up. We find our forward fold at the front of the mat. Inhale lifts you halfway, hands to shins. Exhale, we soften the chest down, forward fold. Inhale to sweep those hands up to the sky, lifting tall. Exhale, hands come down towards that heart space. Really good. Inhale, sweep those hands up to the sky. Exhale, bring the hands behind the back of the body, and this time plant the hands on the base of your spine. Think about squeezing your shoulders together. Lift the chest up. You might be able to look up to the ceiling. And as you squeeze your shoulder blades and elbows together, I want you to gently look up to the ceiling, and then think about allowing the chest to lift up as the back gently moves back, finding a gentle back bend and opening through the chest. Take a deep breath in. Exhale, gently lift back out of it, really good. Inhale, sweep that hand up to the sky. Exhale, hinge from the hips, fold down. Inhale, lifts you halfway, hands to shins. Exhale, soften the chest, plant your hands on the mat. We're stepping the feet back, finding that plank pose. Crown of the head reaches forward, heels reach back, deep breath in. You might be able to lower the knees down to the ground, just like we did in our last version of this pose, or if you want to challenge yourself a little further, you feel steady in your plank pose, you might be able to shift the weight forward and then bend through the elbows, lowering through chaturanga. We can either roll the shoulders back, lifting the chest to find our cobra, or we can straighten the arms and lift the thighs to find our upward dog. Exhale to lift the hips to the sky, we find our downward dog. Take a deep breath in there. Exhale completely. One more full deep inhale. Exhale, we're going to lower the knees down to the ground, really good. Walk the hands back towards the legs, and we're setting up here for our camel pose. Just like in our locust pose, this can be quite an intense back bend, but there are several different options. So for our first option, we're all going to lift the bums away from the heels, and we're going to tuck the toes under. Now in camel pose, we're going to be reaching back for the feet, and so lifting those heels away from the ground by tucking the toes under just helps to make this pose a little bit more accessible. But for the first version of this pose, just like where we were just standing, we're going to bring the hands to the sacrum, the base of the spine. Fingertips are pointing down towards the glutes. You want to think about squeezing your elbows together. Look up towards the ceiling and allow your chest to move up to the sky as you gently start to bend backwards. Only moving as far as your body feels comfortable. Keeping either the chin tucked into the chest or maybe letting the chin fold back as the head looks up to the ceiling. Take one more breath here. Exhale lifts you out of that back bend. Take a minute just to release the feet. Give yourself a wiggle. We're taking that pose 2 more times, so you could either move through that position just as we exactly did it, or you can move through to the next step, just really listening to your body. Back bends can be quite intense, and we really need to be gentle with ourselves as we gradually move up through that flexibility. So with the next version of this pose, we're going to start again with the toes tucked. If you're wanting to stick with the version of the pose we just did, then you'll bring your hands to the base of your spine. If you're wanting to move to the next level, then you're going to reach down and find your heels with the hands. Immediately, this brings you into more of an arc through the back, but you can take that further by looking up to the ceiling and gently bending backwards. Thinking about allowing the chest to expand as you bend through your back. Take one more full deep breath in. Exhale completely. If your hands are on your heels, I want you to bring them to the base of your spine and then release from this back bend. Really good. We'll all release those feet, have that wiggle. Give yourself time to reset. Back bends can be energizing, but they also can take a lot of energy out of you because they're quite intense. So it's important to take those rest periods between poses. Take one more breath here for rest. Exhale completely. And we're moving through to our final version of camel. So it's always available to do the other 2 versions that we've taken, or our final version, instead of tucking those toes, you're going to keep the feet flat on the ground. Like I said before, tucking the toes lifts those heels, so it means it's easier for you to reach back for the heels. So if it was a struggle to reach the heels with the toes tucked, then keep the toes tucked. If that felt easier to you, then you can keep the feet flat on the ground. Starting the pose just like we did before, you either have your toes tucked, hands on the spine, your toes tucked, hands on the heels, or feet flat on the ground. You're going to look up to the ceiling. Start bending through the back of your body, and without looking back towards the heels, because that can strain the neck, you're just going to find those heels with your hands. Look up to the ceiling and allow the chest to expand as you open the front of your body. You can look up to the ceiling, keeping the neck active, or if it feels comfortable to you, you can allow the head to drop back. But I know that is not comfortable for everyone, and there's no pressure to take that version if it doesn't feel good to you. So take your version of camel. We're staying here for 2 more breaths. Connecting with our inhales and exhales. As we squeeze the glutes, think about sending the hips forward. 1 more deep breath in. Exhale completely. If you have the head dropped back, gently lift it. Start to bring the hands towards the glutes as you lift yourself up and out of this pose. We're all going to sit back on the heels. Bring your big toes together and your knees as wide as the mat. We're going to walk the hands forwards, melting the chest down to the ground, bringing the forehead onto the mat, finding our child's pose. Just staying here for 1 full deep breath. Exhaling completely. Really good. With your next inhale, just start to walk the hands back towards the body. We're going to send the feet out to the side as we come back to find a seated position on the ground. Allow yourself to find any seated position that feels comfortable to you. Allow the hips and the legs to be really heavy and think about lengthening the spine. You will have felt like you've created a lot of space through the front of your body. So take that into your seated position. Allow the spine to be long, the shoulders to drop back slightly as you open up that chest. If you feel like you often sit down with a rounded spine, just try to keep some of that openness and take it out into the rest of your day or week. We'll bring the hands together at the heart space, taking a moment in gratitude for yourself for taking the time out of your day to practice. It's been wonderful to practice with you. A big, big thank you from me, and I hope to see you again soon. Namaste.